My name's Mungo, and I've been a cameraman for over 20 years. During that time, I've been to some of the most remote locations on Earth, where I've heard some of the most extraordinary stories. Last time I was in Africa, I heard of a terrifying monster in a country savaged by civil war and Ebola. We really are in deepest Africa. A massive crocodile-like creature known as the Bahai that's said to be more like a dinosaur than anything known today, that severs heads and has a taste for human flesh. Hunting it down will push me and my team to our limits.
We've got 3 people in the water.
As we journey deep into unexplored wilderness.
And if ever there was a place that's like Jurassic Park, this is it.
My mission is to find the Bahai.
I just hope that we will come out alive.
And for the first time, capture it on camera. Every culture has its mysteries. Malevolent man-eaters. Unexplained creature attacks. Are these stories just legends? Or could these creatures really exist?
We're going to crash here, right? You alright, Rob?
My investigation into a terrifying killer has brought me to one of the least visited countries on Earth. Recently ravaged by 12 years of brutal civil war, it's home to some strange anomalies, from bizarre creature sightings to an island colonized by former experimental chimpanzees.
Pretty frightening.
I've traveled over 3,000 miles to the West African country of Liberia. About the size of Virginia, it has a population more like Los Angeles, and I've come to its capital, Monrovia.
I've been to over 12 African countries before, but I've never been to Liberia, so I'm quite excited. There's a reason, though, why a lot of people don't come here.
The Ebola virus. For 2 years, it gripped the country, killing nearly 5,000 people. Initially transmitted to people from bats, the disease quickly spread through the population through contact with bodily fluids, killing over half of those infected.
These African countries just aren't like the Western world. In order to do anything, you really do have to have local knowledge and local contacts.
I'm meeting John Mark Shepherd,
Have you been seeing it?
an American missionary who has lived and worked in the remote forests of the North for over 15 years. He has heard and recorded stories of strange sightings and ferocious attacks there by a legendary creature called the Bahai. The first of many tells of a hunter making his way back to his village in the early evening. He went to the water's edge to cool off and was ripped into the water and devoured. All that remained was his severed head. His fellow villagers were in no doubt of what was to blame. Known locally as the Bahai, it's described as being similar to a huge crocodile or lizard. But when John Mark showed illustrations of reptiles past and present to witnesses, they all pointed to the same creature. A dinosaur that should have been extinct for millions of years. The Bahai sightings all come from a small, isolated area in the north of the country. And that's where I'm meeting John Mark.
Because I'm heading north, I have to do hand sanitizer and have my temperature taken. And it just shows how recent the Ebola crisis was. I mean, it's literally only a few weeks ago that they cleared it. The worst thing is apparently even those that survived Ebola can still be carrying it.
My crew go through a similar process. Temperature screenings, weighing the kit and checking visas. Thankfully, they're in the clear.
The dream team. Forbesy.
Ex-Army logistics expert Ian, Charlie my producer, Matt on sound, and Rob, my specialist cameraman.
You ready for an adventure?
We're heading 160 miles north of Monrovia to the remote town of Voinjama. There are pockets of jungle everywhere here that Western science has barely explored.
It really is extraordinary looking down from the plane and you just see this sea of trees. You know, I wonder what creatures live in those forests. I mean, anything could be in there, surely. I think there's so much more to discover out there. Who knows what we'll find?
This trip is going to be seriously tough going, and my man on the ground will be vital to its success. John Mark doesn't just have excellent knowledge of the people from his work as a missionary in this area.
Here we are, we made it.
He's heard numerous stories of the legendary Baha'i.
John. John Mark.
Hey, Mungo.
Hello, mate, how are you?
Good to see you.
So nice to see you. Finally.
Yes.
Let me introduce these guys as well. This is Rob on camera.
Hey, Rob.
Over the past 10 years, John Mark has been a missionary to the remote villages in this region, but has also met eyewitnesses and gathered their accounts.
Yeah, all right, should we get the bags off?
An expedition like this requires a huge amount of gear. It makes travelling in these regions logistically tough. But it's essential for both our survival and if I'm going to get proof on camera of the Baha'i's existence.
This is it, crunch point. We really are in deepest, darkest Africa. And our plane there, our one kind of lifeline, is about to leave.
From here on in, it's just us and the Liberian wilderness. If anything goes wrong, it's going to take an awfully long time to get myself or any of the crew to the hospital back in Monrovia. We are relying on John Mark's knowledge of the region and of the Baha'i.
So what was it that triggered off your interest in the Baha'i?
Heard stories about it killing people, heard stories about people catching it in nets or shooting it. They were insistent that it was some kind of dangerous reptile.
This isn't like one creature, it seems to be multiple.
No, there's multiple creatures.
Yeah. So is it a kind of crocodile? Like a crocodile but not a crocodile?
Yeah, there's all kinds of crocodile relatives that are only known from fossils. I've shown locals illustrations of the Postosuchus, and they said it's very similar to that. This would be like finding a living dinosaur.
The Postosuchus was amongst the largest carnivorous reptiles of the late Triassic, a powerfully built apex predator and a relative of the modern crocodile. It was supposed to have gone extinct over 200 million years ago. As crazy as it sounds, if a prehistoric reptile were to be stalking the wilderness, the remote and isolated forests of Liberia seem as likely a place as any.
How many eyewitnesses have you actually heard?
It's got to be dozens of people I've talked to who've seen this thing. There's a guy in Kolmahun that you really need to meet called Momo Kamara.
Momo?
Yes.
Cool name.
He's seen the Baha'i, he can explain it very well.
Accessed only by rugged dirt roads, we're heading to the small village of Kolahun to meet Momo, the man who claims to have seen the Baha'i with his own two eyes.
Thank you so much for meeting with me.
Okay, welcome.
What did you actually see? What happened?
We went to hunt along the Keha River, along the bank of the river. We saw it and we went into the river. And quickly we left from there.
Amazing. How do you feel about it now? Are you scared by it?
Yes. It's not something like we battle, either you beat me or I beat you. You can't survive, you must be gone. It's dangerous. It catch human being, it eat human being.
What evidence have you got that it kills men?
There were 3 persons traveling across the river.
Momo tells me the story of a group of young men attempting to cross a river just before nightfall, using a simple log ferry. The ferry was violently charged and the men flung into the water.
And according to eyewitness, they were actually eaten by the animal.
Forgive me for sounding stupid, but you know what a crocodile looks like.
Yeah.
And it's not a crocodile.
No. Absolutely far from it. Far.
Can you describe its head?
A gallo kind of morph like this, but the teeth are built within like this. It smash,
Interlocking teeth. Do you see its eyes?
Okay, look at the laser. The eyes, like this is a laser, but the Baha'i eyes are a little bit behind, around this place.
Yeah, well, when it's like crocodile pose.
Yeah, it moves like this. Okay.
So its belly's off the ground.
It's off the ground. It actually moves on the 4 legs.
On 4 legs?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you really want to see it or set ambush for it, go to that Keha River, you will see it. Yeah.
I really want to see it. Have you got any other advice for me?
When you see it, you move.
Get out of there.
You get out of the place very quick.
Okay.
Whatever Momo saw, it clearly put the fear of God into him. A head like a lizard, and a huge body that it supports on straight legs, like a Nile monitor lizard, unlike crocodiles, which drag themselves on their bellies.
Having slept on it and really thought about what Momo said, the detail, the level of detail that he went into, there really can't be much doubt that he did see it. I'm a little bit scared by it, if I'm honest. It's obviously a dominant predator, and we need to really watch our backs. The other thing was that he mentioned the Keha River, and that's where I've got to go.
The Keha River twists its way through a pocket of Africa that is so remote that very few biologists have ever studied it. The last settlement before the river is the village of Menina, where John Mark knows of other witnesses who have also seen the Baha'i. But there are no roads leading to the village, just narrow dirt paths. So we hire some motorbikes and drivers from the village and set about sorting our gear.
Which pole's which?
This one's staying, this one's going.
We're trying to separate and pare down all the gear because those kind of bikes aren't going to be able to take too much luggage. We've got food, we've got water, we've got Ian's arthritis pills and his teeth. This one's staying or going? Look behind you, Rob. You've got a crowd.
Our presence has drawn a lot of interest, and suddenly we're caught up in some heated local politics.
Then the commissioner from the district were just calling and said you do not know about nothing for the movement.
Some are questioning our permission to be here.
Go down there and speak to the big chief to get permission.
Where's he?
He's down in the next village. Once he's done that, then we can move forward.
There's a massive debate about whether we've got permission to be here. They're saying, go and see the commissioner. He doesn't know anything about this. Everybody's kicking off.
We do have official filming permits, but must work fast to defuse the situation before things turn violent. I'm on the trail of the Baha'i, a deadly, giant, prehistoric-looking reptile, striking fear into a remote forest community in the West African country of Liberia. Ready to head to the Keha River where the creature has been seen, my crew and I are trying to defuse an angry mob, suspicious of outsiders and insisting that we don't have permission to be here. Finally, the community leader arrives to talk with my producer, Charlie.
Good to meet you. Chairman, do you need something?
I have to do my job.
Charlie explains the various permissions we've obtained.
Very happy. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Satisfied with our filming permits,
Good? Yeah, we must get on our bikes.
the chairman gives his blessing for us to continue on.
It's a nightmare.
Free to head off, we finish loading our bikes with the most essential equipment and hit the road.
Just got to get there. Right, let's go.
We're heading to the village of Menina, the last known settlement before the Keha River.
Here I am, riding through the backfields of Liberia. It's unbelievably cool. I'm loving it. Yeah! I say. Whoa, toodle pip.
I'm having fun, but you have to keep your wits about you. Even a broken leg in an area this remote would be a disaster.
Are you off, Mungo?
Yeah, I'm alright.
You alright?
Stacked it.
Luckily, with just my pride dented, we're back on the road. With every mile we ride, we're closing in on the territory of the Baha'i.
This is lovely here, isn't it?
After hours in the saddle, we finally arrive at the village of Menina.
Oh yeah! Hey!
To a great welcome.
That was great. Good, bloody good fun. Nobody can say that we haven't worked hard to get this.
We came here for the first time in 2008, trying to investigate some of the stories I was hearing about the Baha'i. This is really the end of the road. There's no more villages south of here. This is kind of the frontier area where there's contact between humans and these animals.
And so this is pretty close to where it all happened.
Yeah.
As the villagers prepare a meal of chimpanzee feet and rice, I waste no time in gathering the community to see if there are any eyewitnesses.
Can we ask these people to put their hand up if they've seen the Baha'i?
大家好意思喂，是咯啊。
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people. That's amazing. We're in the right place.
Yeah.
We're definitely in Baha'i territory.
So you sit here on the fire.
I talked to one of the men, Isaac, who speaks some English and knows about all the other villagers' sightings.
So Isaac, could you tell me about when you saw the Baha'i? What happened?
Went to fishing by the river with my brother. I saw something on the water that coming towards him. Then he turned around, so he said, it looked like a crocodile. I said, hey. He said, that is not a crocodile. That is animal that is bigger than a crocodile. We're talking about the Baha'i there.
How long was the Baha'i? I mean, was it from here to the tree?
Not this tree, but the kitchen that over there.
To the kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's more like probably 20 feet, no? Did you see its head?
The mouth was not almost in the form of guana.
So it had a mouth like an iguana?
Yes.
Like a monitor lizard.
Like a monitor lizard, that's what they call it over here, isn't it? And the Baha'i definitely wasn't a crocodile?
Different. They're not even in the same form. I know crocodile very well. The Baha'i is different, the crocodile is different.
And what other stories have you heard from your fellow villagers who have seen the Baha'i?
There was a few fishermen by the river.
Isaac tells me that the fishermen who had seen the Baha'i earlier in the day warned their friend not to wade across towards them. Having not seen the creature himself, he ignored their advice. He was snatched from the surface, dragged out of sight, and was never seen again.
So there's nothing left?
Nothing left. No piece of the body remaining.
Is there anybody else that you'd recommend that I speak to?
Sekou.
Sekou?
Yeah. He's the only fisherman that here in Asanta visiting the river.
This is really unusual. In my experience of remote villages, people rely on rivers for fishing. But here, Sekou appears to be the only fisherman not afraid to venture onto this river. And his camp is close to where the Baha'i was last seen.
So thinking about the account that I just heard from Isaac, it's now the second time that I've heard the Baha'i's head being compared to that of an iguana. And by iguana, I know that the locals here mean a Nile monitor. But Nile monitors, as far as I know, just don't grow that big. Yet they are related to Komodo dragons. But I've been to Komodo Island in Indonesia and I've filmed Komodo dragons. And there are similarities to the description. But A, they don't grow to over 5 meters, and B, they don't live in water. That's a fact. So for me, I have to rule out the fact that it is a lizard.
So if it's not a crocodile and it's not a huge monitor lizard, what is it? Perhaps sketching people's descriptions of it will give me a better idea.
I imagine it to be something like that, and then humped back, the scales.
It definitely resembles a creature from the history books. Maybe John Mark is right. Could I actually be on the trail of a dinosaur? Deep in the northern forests of Liberia, my crew and I have been welcomed by the isolated village of Menina.
Go on, Bobsy, shoot!
Few Western people have ever been here, and it's a rare chance to bond with the community. But despite these moments of fun, this village lives in fear of a giant reptile. They say it's neither a crocodile or a monitor lizard, but something closer to a dinosaur that should have been extinct for over 200 million years. It's an incredible claim that I want to run by a zoologist I know who specialises in West African crocodiles, Dr. Matt Shirley.
Hey Mungo man, how's it going? How are you calling me from way up there?
I'm on the sat phone linked up to the laptop, so the wonders of technology, eh?
That's great, man. So how can I help you?
I've spoken to a couple of eyewitnesses, and the descriptions they've given me seem to line up with the Postosuchus. It may sound ridiculous, but I just wanted to run it by you, kind of get your opinion of whether you think that could be viable. What do you think?
Have you ever heard of the coelacanth?
No, I haven't. What's that?
Yeah, so this is the first example that comes to mind. I mean, this is one of these prehistoric fish that we have a fossil record for from about 60 some odd million years ago that we all thought was extinct because people had never seen one alive. And then, in the last century, a handful of fishermen off the east coast of Africa actually started pulling them up in nets and on lines. And so we're like, holy cow, this thing's actually not extinct.
Growing up to 2 meters long, the bizarre-looking coelacanth evaded the scientific world by living at depths of over 1,500 feet.
You never know what's hiding out there in the world, right?
I mean, that's incredible, Matt. Just to hear that you and your expert opinion says that it actually could be viable.
And who knows? I mean, you're in a super remote area that's never been studied. I can't rule anything out. And of course, the kid in me loves to believe in those sort of magical possibilities.
I mean, that's a monumental step forward.
It's just the news I was hoping for. As crazy as it seems, it looks like the bloodthirsty creature that I'm tracking could actually be a dinosaur. There's no time to waste.
Let's go.
I want to head to my next eyewitness, Sekou the fisherman, whose camp is in the Bahai territory. We've gone as far as the dirt roads can take us. From here, we must head 5 miles downriver to Sekou's fishing camp.
Right, from now on in, everybody keep their eyes peeled. We've got 2 canoes down there, Rob. The canoes are a bit smaller than we imagined. The one on the left, even with 1 man, it's pretty low to the water level, so it's a bit risky. Okay, well, let's start getting these 2 pack rafts inflated. Where's the pump for these?
I've brought 2 pack rafts with me for this eventuality. They're inflatable kayaks that are light and packed down small. Perfect for this expedition.
Jump. There you go, buddy.
Could get a shot of this blood-sucking fly here.
John, Mark and I take our inflatable rafts, while the gear goes in the wooden canoes with the rest of the crew. They're not ideal for transporting heavy equipment, but it's our only option.
Better stop filming. Start bailing.
This is the best boat we've got, but it's leaked like a sieve, so we've got 2 people on full-time bailing duty. If they stop bailing for more than about 2 minutes, we're not in a good position here, really.
We hope to reach Sekou's camp before dark, but we have to take it steady. The river is deceptively fast-flowing, and we're now in prime Bahai territory.
I've canoed in some pretty remote places before, but I think if ever there was a place that's like Jurassic Park, this is it. Wow, is that a cobweb? Oh, it's beautiful here. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, very cool. I love being out on the river.
Just need a beer, cold beer. Did you hear that? We just heard a splash.
We're venturing downriver in search of a fisherman who lives in the heart of Bahai territory. We've heard loud splashing sounds and are on high alert.
You couldn't see it, couldn't see the water moving. Actually made me feel a bit sick.
When you're this remote and on a trail of a deadly unknown predator, you're constantly on edge.
We're all just looking out for any sign of life, any sign of slippery kind of entries into the water. Got to keep our wits about us. I'm not sure this inflatable boat offers much protection. I just hope that we see the Bahai before it sees us. Or it could go horribly wrong. Is that camp? Is that him? Sekou? Oh, yeah! Come on.
I've spotted Sekou.
Final push.
The fisherman that Isaac told me about.
Yes! Well, glad to see you. Now, help me out. Well done, John Mark. Good trip. That was amazing. I'm going to have to do something I swore I'd never do.
It's great to have made it safely onto land.
Awesome. Wow.
But with only 1 hour until nightfall, we need to set up our camp quickly. Sekou lives between this simple fishing camp and Menina, surviving from the river. We tie up our hammocks, which thankfully have built-in mosquito nets to keep the stinging insects away.
Oh! Is that a good sign or a bad sign? Sekou! Sekou! What's this? Monkey? Wow. Did he die here? Ah, you ate him?
As night falls, we have dinner around the fire, and it's my chance to hear from Sekou.
So when was it that you saw Bahai?
I see Bahai 2016 here.
This year?
Yeah, September.
September?
Yeah.
This last September?
Yeah.
You're kidding. That's a few months ago.
Yeah, 2 times.
2 times. The places where you've seen it before, could you take us to those places?
Yeah.
Are they close to here?
Like, you know, almost 1 hour distance. We have to go there.
So we could go tomorrow?
Yeah, we can go there tomorrow.
We'll be heading out onto the river again at first light. So before we settle in for the evening, I want to gauge how my crew are feeling about the Bahai.
I definitely was very sceptical at first, and it's starting to feel a bit more real. And whether that's because we're next to the river or not, I don't know.
I do believe there's something out there. Everybody seems really upfront about it. It's not done because it's a religious thing. People are not looking at this as a demigod or anything else. They're actually looking at it as just an animal in their workplace.
And that's quite a major point, actually. Because often in these kind of creature investigations, there's always some spiritual element to it, but here there's definitely not. So there is no question in people's mind about, is this real or not? I mean, it's not as if some people say it doesn't exist. It's like everybody knows it does exist.
We'll just hope it doesn't come out of that river tonight.
All the crew are just going to bed, prepping the cameras and the kit for tomorrow. And I must admit, I'm lying here, amazed and a little bit nervous, because I had no idea that Sekou last had his sighting of the Bahai only 3 or 4 months ago. I mean, this is a game changer. I'm starting to feel the responsibility of having my crew here. I just hope that if we do see it tomorrow, that it is at a distance, that it is as controlled as we can be. Ultimately, we will come out alive.
It's rained through the night, making the river faster flowing and our journey 5 miles downstream to where Sekou saw the Bahai far more hazardous. From this moment on, we have 2 cameras rolling. Rob and I are shooting from the larger canoe with Sekou as our guide. Ian, along with 2 additional boatmen, take the smaller one and travel behind as a safety boat.
Bloody hell, it's a lot faster today. So it's going.
Well, they're going down.
Our second canoe's sunk. You've got 3 people in the water.
In the remote Liberian jungle, we're heading to the spot where Sekou saw the Baha'i only a few months ago.
We got lost the canoe.
Anyone grab the paddle?
On the trail of a giant aquatic killer, one of our canoes has capsized, sending Ian and 2 local boatmen into the fast-flowing water.
Ian's safe. He's on the bank. Let's get the other guy.
In situations like this, you can't just dive in. You have to keep cool and think straight.
Ian, help this guy. He's panicking a bit.
Not the greatest swimmer.
Come here. Sorry, is he all right? Yeah, he's fine, he's fine. You all right, fella?
That was dramatic. So we had the small canoe go down within seconds of leaving the bank. 3 people in the water, all swimming. Make no bones about it. We potentially could have lost lives there.
Let's get to bank and regroup.
Best laid plans.
It's a huge relief that everyone is safe and no equipment has been lost.
When we got in this morning, the river hadn't come up a lot because it's so wide and it doesn't rise so much, but the volume of water moving down the river was much higher. Did like totally different conditions to yesterday. Yeah. And I think that's what the little boat didn't get out from under the trees quick enough and just hit a tree. And once you like that in a little boat, unless you really, really know what you're doing, you're going in.
The problem is these boats just aren't up to it, really.
We can walk it. We can all walk it.
It's clear it's too risky to continue by water, so we must carry on over land. Sekou's happy to guide us to the place where he recently saw the Baha'i. But it's hot and humid through dense tangled forest, and what would be an hour by water will be many more on foot.
Got it? Yep.
It's every bit as hard as I imagined, and it's not long before we reach our first obstacle.
I think we've got a bit of an issue here, that we've got to cross some creek.
We're literally up the creek without a paddle or a canoe.
They're trying to fashion a bridge of sorts, but they're an awful lot lighter than we are. And look at him shimming across that, Mungo. I mean, I don't fancy my chances at doing that with all this kit on.
We're really close to where Sekou saw the Baha'i, and I'm aware that this tributary could hide anything.
You've got to keep in the back of your mind that there is potentially a 5-metre predator around here. What are your thoughts, Forbesy?
We're going to have to probably wait for it, because we're not going to be able to walk across there with these cameras. It's just not going to happen, is it?
No. I'm not going to risk going on that bridge.
I can't afford to destroy my best means of documenting this amazing creature. I'm going to have to wade in.
Slippery, isn't it?
Yeah, mine.
Onwards. Looks like something's been scratching down there, like burrowing. But it's more likely a porcupine.
These forests are so vast and dense that they can hide all kinds of wildlife, even forest elephants and pygmy hippos.
This way he saw it?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Finally, after 5 grueling hours,
Beautiful here.
we reached the spot. Perfect habitat for a large aquatic reptile. Easy access to the banks to snatch at unsuspecting prey, lured to the water's edge to drink, and space to haul its huge body out into the sun to bask.
One time I saw it here, he fell down the water. One day again, I saw it over there.
So once over there on the island. So you've seen it a couple of times here?
Yes.
Now we're finally sitting here. I feel a bit overwhelmed really. It's been blood, sweat and toil. But it's worth it. It really is worth it. And the icing on the cake, obviously, would be to get a sighting of this Baha'i creature. The plan now is to set some camera traps.
For me, it's not good enough just to see the Baha'i.
That's 2 set. So we've got 3 to go.
I have to capture it on camera.
It's a good spot.
These cameras are triggered by movement. Anything that comes past them will be filmed.
The key is with these is to try and find an animal trail. I mean, like humans, animals will use the path of least resistance. This is a belter. It's like a proper little tributary into the main river. This is perfect crocodile territory, if not Baha'i.
This is a definite route in and out of the river.
5 camera traps sorted.
With the motion detecting cameras set, we have 2 other night vision cameras that will allow us to hunt for the Baha'i more actively.
So what we're going to do is to bring out the bad boys. We're going to bring out the infrared camera and the thermal imaging camera and see if that can give us any hope of seeing the Baha'i. Okay, stand by all call signs. I'm about to deploy the drone.
The thermal camera is attached to a drone, which means that we have an eye in the sky to search for heat signatures that a large reptile might give off. The infrared camera allows us to film with good visibility in pitch black.
All stations.
But the change in the weather has got Ian worried.
I'm just looking at the storm here. It's getting really bad. There's a lot of electricity in the air, so safety first again. Just keep your eyes out, over.
Did you hear that, Charlie?
What was it?
Sounded like a splash.
In the dead of night, deep in the Liberian forests of West Africa, my crew and I are using specialist thermal and infrared cameras, trying to capture footage of the giant carnivorous reptile known as the Baha'i.
Mungo to Ian, Mungo to Ian. No sightings yet.
We've heard something large enter the water, and cameraman Rob tries to track its heat signature on the thermal camera.
You getting anything on the thermal? Nothing yet. Who knows whether what we're looking for is warm-blooded or cold-blooded. If it's cold-blooded, does that mean you won't see anything? I think we'll see less. It'll be more similar to the other surroundings, if so. But this is pretty sensitive.
After hours of scouring the river for heat signatures, there's no sign of the Baha'i.
It's been an incredibly long night, but we haven't seen anything with our own eyes. So now, it's all down to the camera traps.
At first light, I retrieve the cameras.
Either hope or fear is realised. The hope of seeing something and the fear that the camera doesn't work. Well, that's good. Clip 1, we have life. Okay, so the camera's flicked at night.
Some of the cameras have been triggered, but by what?
Hopefully not by this, the moving branch. I'll spool through it quickly. Oh, no. Just a leaf. Come on. Here we go. That's a small forest deer. It's quite a chunky one.
Creatures are coming to the water's edge. A perfect meal for the Baha'i.
Hang on a minute. What is that?
That's a genet. You see the head and the body and the tail.
Genets are small cat-like mammals that are found across Africa, often hunted for their meat and fur. It may not be the Baha'i, but it's clear that under the cover and quiet of dark, life is stirring in these forests. And life means food for a bigger predator. But the Baha'i's prey is not what I've come all this way to film.
I mean, we came here thinking that it was likely from the descriptions to be a crocodile. But when you ask the eyewitnesses, is it a crocodile? They say no, categorically. No. We know what a crocodile is, and this is not a crocodile. I'm convinced, I really am genuinely convinced, that the Baha'i does exist.
And it's here, somewhere.
The question is, what is it? Through the descriptions that we've gathered from the eyewitnesses, it does point towards something like a Postosuchus. And then if Matt Shirley says that that is a viable possibility, to me that's really exciting. During my time here, I can't help but wonder, even though we haven't seen the Baha'i, I wonder if it's seen us.
The forests of Liberia are certainly not an easy place to explore, but that's precisely why the true identity of the Baha'i has remained a mystery. I'm convinced it exists, and I will be back.